now you'll be comfortable edging on your hillside and putting your weight down through your toes to flatten the board off and direct it downwind. But you can also take this a step further, changing your stance and riding along on your toe side edge. For many, the initial response to learning to ride toe side is why. It looks twisted and uncomfortable, and at first seems to have no practical use. But in fact, learning to ride toe side will help you gain a better understanding of your board and stance. And it's actually a comfortable and exhilarating way to ride, and will help you in all areas of your kiting, from carving turns, riding waves, and landing jumps. We'll start by looking how we get round to toe side in the most basic way, by sliding the board around. Then we'll look at the basic stance for toe side riding, going downwind in control. After this, we'll show you how to improve your toe side stance so you can edge harder, handle more power, and ride closer to the wind. Also, check out the change of direction chapter next, where we'll put what you have learnt to the test, with toe side to hillside and hillside to toe side carving turns. The first challenge is to get round onto your toe side edge, and sliding the board is by far the easiest method. To start with, you may find it a bit unstable and lose your momentum, but eventually you'll be sliding the board around with fluidity and speed. First, let's take a look at the first run through of sliding to toe side. Ride along as normal on your hillside edge, with the kite parked between 10 and 11 o'clock. Push out with your back foot to carve the board upwind. As the board comes close to pointing directly upwind, bend your front leg and allow all your weight to come over it, continuing to push out and round with your back foot. Your front foot now becomes your new back foot, and the board should be pivoting around it. As the board points downwind, start to flatten the board by putting weight onto your toes. Keep weight over your new back foot, pulling it underneath you. Allow your weight to come forward and slightly engage the toe side edge with your back foot. You are now riding on your toe side edge with your weight centered on the board. Enter the slide with speed if you hope to come out still moving. As you'll discover later, the toe side stance is more susceptible to a lack of kite power or a drop in board speed. So start with speed before the turn to help yourself afterwards. During the slide, you should be able to see that the upper body holds a similar position throughout. And it's just the legs and board that twist from the waist down. Let's break the slide down into entry, slide, and the exit. During the entry, you should be concentrating on keeping your weight over your back foot to carve the board upwind. As the board comes close to pointing directly upwind, your weight shifts to your front foot. This leg becomes bent and the board will pivot around it. This pivoting action happens by continuing to kick out with your back leg. But also flattening off the board by putting pressure on your toes so that the nose of the board can slide. Finally, as the board slides around the final few degrees, allow the kite to pull you up over the board and pull the new back leg under your body. This will allow the tail's toe side edge to engage first and stop the slide. Keep some weight on your new front leg, ensuring the board stays flat, allowing you to accelerate in the new direction. Keep the board pointing halfway between downwind and crosswind as you come out of the slide, giving you a good balance of control from the board and power from the kite. If you can't get the board to slide past the downwind position, then your front leg is too straight. And once you have straightened your back leg, your weight is evenly distributed and the board skips downwind, rather than pivoting around your front foot. As the board starts to come close to pointing upwind, bend your front leg and transfer your weight over it. This should allow your back foot to push the back of the board around, pivoting around the bent front leg. If you slide the board around but stall and fall in backwards, then you have lost all the power from the kite because it has moved up too high in the window. The act of toe side riding requires more power from the kite than heel side edging, so you need to ensure you enter with speed and exit with your weight evenly distributed between your feet, the toe side edge slightly engaged, and the board pointing between downwind and crosswind. If you slide the board around but fall forwards over the toe side edge, then the weight over your front foot is trying to edge the board too hard too soon. You need to ensure the board has stopped pivoting around your new back foot and is now accelerating in the new direction. Otherwise, your body is moving forward faster than the board. As the board comes sliding around and passes the downwind position, keep your weight over your new back foot until the board is pointing in the new direction. Then allow your body weight to come forward over the board. But it's crucial to keep the board flat so it accelerates before applying weight to both your feet's toes to gradually engage the toe side edge and resist the power from the kite. So now that you've slid the board around, you've got to discover how your stance differs compared to riding on your heel side. Our aim is to help you understand the way in which your weight distribution needs to change to allow you to ride for long distances and maintain control. We're going to break the toe side stance down into 2 progressions. Jumping straight in and trying to edge hard like you would on your hillside is unrealistic. So we'll start by forgetting about trying to stay upwind and look to understand the new technique and balance while heading downwind. Then we can build on this and tackle the more advanced toe side edging techniques, holding more power and potentially riding upwind. So let's start with a first run through of the key technique points for your first run's toe side. Keep the board pointing on a broad course downwind. Lean back lightly against the kite from your harness, keeping your body straight, hips forward, shoulders back, allowing light pressure on your toes to engage the edge. Have both your legs slightly bent with your knees pointing into the wind. Twist at your waist so that your upper body can face in the direction you're travelling. Keep your weight balanced so it's slightly more over your back foot, but ensure that you keep weight on your front foot to keep the board accelerating downwind. Keep the bar sheeted in with your arms slightly bent. The first thing to understand when riding on your toe side is it can be a lot harder to get your weight back against the kite and thus get the weight off the board. For this reason, it's wise to learn toe side riding when you're reasonably powered up, allowing the kite to stay parked lower in the wind window. Leave trying it in lighter winds to when your technique has improved. The area that causes most people trouble, though they don't know it, is their weight distribution. When riding toe side, it's very easy to put too much pressure over the back foot, which when coupled with this increased challenge to get your weight off the board and onto the kite, results in the tail dragging in the water and reducing your speed to a crawl. Your weight should be distributed so there is slightly more over your back foot. But in reality, you may need to feel like your weight is committed quite heavily over your front foot. The front foot pressure is crucial to maintaining speed, essential to riding toe side successfully. The key to your stance is ensuring your feet and knees are forced so they point into the wind. This will help you to keep your weight balanced evenly on the board. But you do need your upper body facing forwards so that you can control the bar and kite. Do this by twisting from your waist, so as not to affect your feet and lower leg position. Commonly, people feel that it helps to take their front hand off the bar, to help to keep their lower body correctly positioned. Now this does work and is particularly satisfying in strong winds when you're edging hard. But in lower winds and whilst learning, it can lead to bad technique. Also, remember you need good power from the kite, and by having both your hands on the bar, you're able to continue to fly the kite to generate more power if necessary. When you're first learning toe side riding, you'll end up heading a long way downwind. So a great way to practice is by going on a downwinder. You can perform several long runs and have time to experiment with your technique without the worry of needing to get back upwind. If you find it hard to ride along with any speed, the board dragging in the water, then you have too much weight over your back foot, sinking the tail, even though there is power in the kite. Allow the kite to pull you forwards so that your weight is distributed between your feet, with both your legs slightly bent. If you feel you're going too fast, then rather than sinking the tail, take your weight off your toes and foot steer the board downwind to release some power from the kite. If you find it hard to cope with the lulls or gusts in the wind, then you may have your legs too straight, making it difficult to adjust your weight distribution and body position. As with hillside riding, your legs should be relaxed and slightly bent. This will allow you to easily shift your weight between your feet, but also make it easier to twist at your waist to position your upper body without upsetting the stance of your legs. If you find it hard to engage the toe side edge when attempting to ride closer to the wind, then your stance may be wrong.
The most common mistake is trying to stay balanced by sticking your bum out.
In an attempt to get your weight against the kite with your upper body more outboard. But this means, as with hillside edging, that you are having to push your toe side edge into the water by pushing hard with your toes, rather than allowing your body weight to transfer down through your feet and toes and engage the edge. Start with your body tall and upright, legs slightly bent, then lean with your whole body against the kite, keeping your hips forwards and your shoulders back. If you find that you ride along and gradually slow down, ultimately falling in forwards, then you might be riding with one hand off the kite. This has two effects. Firstly, it stops you from being able to fly the kite correctly to maintain power. And secondly, if you're not careful, it can affect your stance, as there is a tendency to stop twisting your upper body and you just look directly upwind, throwing off your weight distribution and often causing the board to ride too close to the wind. Try and keep both your hands on the bar. To make this possible, have your legs slightly bent, your knees pointing upwind, but twist at your waist so that your head and shoulders face in the direction you want to go, making it comfortable for both hands to hold the bar. Now that you are getting some longer runs riding toe side and getting a better feel for the stance required to control the board, you can start to commit more weight against the kite, put more pressure on your toe side edge, allowing you to ride faster, closer to the wind, and truly experience the thrill of this technique. Make sure you are powered up, keeping the kite sheeted in, arms slightly bent. Lean back against the kite through your harness. Keep your weight balanced between your feet, knees facing upwind, with your back leg slightly more bent than your front leg. Keep your shoulders back, twisting at your waist so that you're facing the direction you're travelling. All this will allow weight to naturally come over your toes, to push the toe side edge into the water. The more you lean back against the kite, the more you can engage the toe side edge, to extreme levels if the conditions and your skill allow. The more you lean back against the kite, the more you can twist your upper body, and in turn bend your back leg to stay balanced. But don't end up transferring all your weight back over your back foot. Keep weight on your front foot to maintain your speed. Being able to hold your edge on your toe side will allow you to enter and exit carving turns with loads of speed, as we'll find out in the next chapter.